Warning, the next 5 minutes will make you think twice about ever mocking someone again. ABA Street was alive with noise, a symphony of voices blending into the humid air. Children ran barefoot across the dusty compound, their laughter ringing out between the small, closely packed rooms. Tenants gossiped from their doorsteps, balancing bowls of water on their hips or peeling cassava under the shade of the lone mango tree that stood in the middle of the compound. At the center of it all was Tabitha, the landlady. She was a strong-willed woman, her presence commanding respect. Though she wasn't particularly wealthy, she carried herself with dignity, always dressed in well-pressed wrappers and a matching blouse. But no matter how much respect she commanded, there was one thing that followed her like a shadow, her barrenness. It was common knowledge that Tabitha had no children. And in a society where a woman's worth was often measured by the number of children she bore, this made her an easy target. The ones who took the most pleasure in ridiculing her were Oluchi and Lydia, two outspoken tenants who lived in the compound. They were best friends, always seen together, whispering and cackling like market women with no filters. "See her walking around like she owns the world," Lydia muttered one evening as Tabitha passed by, carrying a basket of vegetables from the market. Oluchi smirked. "A woman who can't even carry a child wants to carry authority. Imagine the insult." They laughed loudly, ensuring that Tabitha had every word. The older woman paused for a moment, then continued walking without a word. It wasn't the first time they had mocked her, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the compound settled into its usual nighttime rhythm. Women prepared dinner outside, their stoves glowing under the dim light of kerosene lanterns. The aroma of frying plantains mixed with the scent of burning firewood, filling the air with warmth and familiarity. Oluchi and Lydia sat outside their room, fanning themselves as they gossiped about the latest scandal in town. "Did you hear about Mama Chinidu's daughter? They say her husband sent her back to her father's house because she couldn't give him a son," Lydia whispered. Oluchi scoffed. "Oh. That's exactly what should happen to women who can't bear children. A woman without a child is nothing." A heavy silence fell over the compound as the words left her mouth. Some of the other tenants turned to look at her, their expressions unreadable. Even the night air seemed to grow thicker, the wind suddenly still. It was then that Tabitha stepped forward. She had been standing nearby, listening, her face blank and unreadable. For the first time, she did not reply. She simply looked at them, a long, piercing stare that seemed to strip them of their confidence. Then, without a word, she turned and walked away. The compound held its breath. Something felt wrong. That night, a powerful wind howled through ABA Street, shaking windows and rattling doors. The air was thick with something unseen, something heavy. Oluchi and Lydia, lying on their mats, stirred in discomfort. The room was unbearably hot, even with the wind outside. Beads of sweat formed on their foreheads, their bodies restless. Then, a sudden crash outside made them both sit up. They rushed out to see what had happened. A large clay pot had fallen from the roof and shattered into pieces, right where they had been sitting just an hour ago. "That's strange," Oluchi muttered. Lydia forced a laugh. "Maybe the wind is taking sides with our dear landlady." But deep inside, a shiver ran down her spine. In the following days, strange things began to happen. Doors creaked open in the middle of the night, even when locked. Shadows moved in places they shouldn't have. A tenant, Mama Ibeji, claimed to have seen a dark figure standing outside Oluchi and Lydia's window one night. Then came the accidents. Lydia slipped and fell, twisting her ankle on a dry floor. Oluchi woke up one morning to find her best clothes ripped apart, scattered across the compound. Their food spoiled too quickly. Their water turned murky without explanation. At first, they laughed it off. But the more it happened, the harder it was to ignore. Other tenants whispered among themselves. "This is not ordinary," one woman murmured. "You should apologize to the landlady," another neighbor suggested cautiously. Lydia scoffed. "Apologize? For what?" "Telling the truth." But Oluchi hesitated. "What if we did go too far?" Lydia rolled her eyes. You're starting to sound like those village women who believe in curses. But that night, the shadows grew darker. The sound of soft footsteps echoed outside their window. When they checked, no one was there. They lay awake, hearts pounding. Then, Lydia woke up screaming. Something pressed down on her chest, an invisible force that suffocated her, crushing the air from her lungs. Oluchi shook her awake, her own skin crawling with terror. It's her, Lydia whispered, voice shaking. Tabitha. She's doing this. The next morning, for the first time, they stood outside Tabitha's door. Their hands trembled as they knocked. The door creaked open. Tabitha stood there, looking at them calmly. Yes, she asked simply. Oluchi and Lydia exchanged a nervous glance. We just wanted to check on you, Oluchi said hesitantly. Tabitha smiled. A slow, knowing smile. I am fine, she said. But are you? The words sent a chill through them. That night, they couldn't sleep. The nightmares came. Dark figures loomed over them in their dreams, whispering words they couldn't understand. Their skin felt cold, even under the heat of the African sun. They knew. They were running out of time. By dawn, they were on their knees outside Tabitha's door. Please, forgive us, Oluchi begged, tears streaming down her face. We were foolish, Lydia whispered. Tabitha studied them for a long time before she spoke. Words have weight, she said. They linger in places you cannot see. And when spoken with cruelty, they invite things you cannot control. Lydia shuddered. Please, what can we do? Tabitha tilted her head. It is not me you should be asking. Oluchi frowned. Then who? Tabitha only smiled, stepping back and closing her door. That night, they did not sleep. They sat in the middle of their room, hands clasped together, whispering prayers neither of them had spoken in years. The shadows in their room faded. The air lightened. And for the first time in weeks, silence returned to the compound. Tabitha never spoke of it again. Neither did Oluchi and Lydia. But from that day forward, they never laughed at another woman's pain. And whenever they passed Tabitha, they always bowed their heads, knowing that some wounds, once opened, could never truly be healed. Moral lesson: this story teaches us that words have power. Mocking others, especially over things beyond their control, can bring consequences far beyond what we can see. Kindness costs nothing, but cruelty can cost everything. Be careful how you treat others, because some wounds never fade. Now, here's a question for you. If you were in Oluchi and Lydia's place, what would you have done differently? Drop your answers in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful African stories. See you in the next video.